Okay, round one with green-black energy constrictor. We're on the play. And this hand is pretty interesting. We have a lot of things to do on turn 2 and something to do on turn 3, but we only have 2 lands on the play. I think I'm going to keep this hand just because of how powerful Constrictor and Ballista can be. Actually going to lead on Cub, though, because with, well, probably. We'll see what our opponent does, but Cub, like playing Cub and then untapping and playing Constrictor before combat and then attacking with Cub is really important. Okay, our third land is fantastic here. I'm still going to jam the Cub because I would rather it get removed than the Constrictor. And we can do, do all sorts of things if it doesn't get removed. All right, there's the Fatal Push. But the opponent doesn't have a follow-up. So I know they don't have a second Fatal Push. I know that was their draw for the turn, because last turn they had the Blooming Marsh open and they didn't Fatal Push end of turn. So they might have a Grasp or something, though. Which means I have to figure out what I want to do. I think I like using all of my mana for the Harvester. And then next turn, if I draw land, I can play Constrictor and Ballista and attack with Harvester. So that's a pretty big swing. Otherwise, I could just play Constrictor and attack with Harvester. It's a pretty safe bet that our opponent is on some version of Constrictor, but we're not entirely sure which. I'm just going to kill this Constrictor right now. I think that the most important thing is to keep their Constrictors off the table. So we're gonna get rid of it, and depending on what our opponent does, next turn we'll run ours out there. Alright, there's a Glint Sleeve Siphoner. So this is actually pretty perfect. We get to Constrictor, we get to Ballista for X equals 1, which gives us 2 counters. We get to actually we get to attack first. And the reason we attack first is so that we don't, because by killing our opponent's Glint Sleeve Siphoner, we're turning on Revolt. We're pretty sure they don't have it because of the Winding Constrictor, but just in case. And I'm not going to spend energy. I don't really need to gain life right now. I'm just going to shoot this Siphoner down and pass the turn. Yeah, so I don't really need to gain life right now. That's not what it's about, and I'm far enough ahead on board. Oh wow, I really wish the Constrictor had survived, but this is a pretty good one. So we get 2 counters. We get to crew with Rishkar and attack for 5, which takes our opponent all the way down to 12. And then Rishkar, if she stays alive, lets us cast Gearhulk next turn. So that is pretty fantastic. Opponent plays Rishkar without anything. So it's not going to end well for them. Just a 3/3 for 3. It's going to end very poorly for them, actually. So here's a Gearhulk. They don't have a removal spell. We kind of know that. So we're going to put all the counters on. Oh, or they just concede. Okay. So that was a pretty solid game. We kept our opponent off of their cards, and then they didn't draw enough removal to deal with Constrictor into Ballista until it was a little too late. Our draw just ended up being less clunky than theirs, despite like missing land drops and stuff. So we want Fatal Push for sure. We want Grasp for sure. We just want to maximize our early game removal. Harvester's not the best. And then I like Lilianas, I like Murders, and I like Obnixilis here. Sky Sovereign is a card that I'll bring it on the play, but not on the draw. We can take out a Gearhulk on the draw. And we can take out all of these Siphoners, because our opponent has Walking Ballista, and as you saw in that game, Siphoner does not line up well with Walking Ballista at all. So this is a solid curve, and we're ready to battle. Opponent sideboarded pretty quickly as well. So they obviously have a plan in this matchup. Okay. So this is an interesting one. It's definitely a keep, right? But I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing on turn. We're probably attuning on turn 1. Like that's, yeah. Wow, 3 Rishkars is a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna attune for a forest because I need one. And now we have plenty of energy to power the Ether Hub for the next few turns. Opponent plays a tapped land, which is kind of the perfect time to get down this Winding Constrictor. Hopefully. Okay, no Fatal Push. That is great. So if the opponent plays something next turn, their own Constrictor, and then maybe another tapped land, okay. So this is not going to go well for them. We can attune plus push here, or we can just Renegade. I like Renegading, but they could play... Even if they play Ballista for 2 and get 3 counters, it's not the end of the world next turn. Renegade is pretty great. If they play their own Renegade, I just kill their Ballista and still keep attacking in. So that's not a great spot for them. They don't have a ton of things to do. Playing another Constrictor into something would be annoying, but okay. So they have the Renegade. They get to get in for 4, which I'll take. Or they're just tapping 2 mana to play something else. Ballista for 2. Alright. So that's annoying, but we do have the outs here. We have the 2 Fatal Pushes to take care of Ballista and Constrictor. But I'm not sure that's worth it. We could just slam Verdurous Gearhulk. I think we need to get the Constrictor off the table first. I think that's the most important thing. And then we can also get the Ballista off the table. I should have done that in the reverse order. Doesn't really matter. Alright, they're hitting us. So we take 2. I'm going to attack with this Rishkar because I have 2 more, so trading would be very beneficial. Also, if the opponent doesn't block, as you see, it takes them to 8, so 1 attack here is lethal. Alright, they're playing a Gearhulk, which is not nearly as good as our Gearhulk because we still have a Constrictor. 2 and 2, so that makes them 6s. Oh wow, that Ballista's really good. So if we Ballista for X equals 2, that doesn't quite do it, right? Because we only get to attack, only get to get in for 4 damage, and then we can shoot the opponent for 3. If I just jam Verdurous Gearhulk, I think that's better. I could Ballista and then plan to Gearhulk the Ballista next turn, though. Seems... No. So I want to force them to block this Gearhulk and get it off the table. So we're going to put 1 counter here. Oh, so they aren't forced to block with the Gearhulk, but if they don't block with the Gearhulk, then they're in trouble. I think we do it like that. So this is a 6/7, which can attack through their Gearhulk. And then this becomes a 7/7 that can attack through their Gearhulk as well. And our Rishkar becomes a 6/6, but it's the card we least care about keeping. So I'm okay with all of this. This is like having a 7/7 back to block is huge. It's really important. I'm not sure the opponent can. Yeah, opponent can't afford to block, but they can't kill us this turn. So next turn, I'm just going to Ballista them to death. Basically, no matter what they do, unless they gain an absurd amount of life, which is unlikely, because these decks don't usually run a lot of life gain. So we're, and we get there. Great. So that was a pretty quick match, right? Highlights the importance of drawing removal and being able to kill things, and the value that Winding Constrictor staying alive can really have. It just really warps the game, even if it doesn't stay alive for very long. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next match.